everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. We're gonna find out how Chevy's new Halo car, that being the C8 Corvette, compares to Maserati's return to the performance car world with the MC20. And actually, let me rephrase that, Maserati's return to the mid-engine supercar world. Essentially, we're gonna break down my experience with both cars, starting from the exterior and then to the interior. From there, we're gonna analyze my driving impressions consisting of the handling and powertrain characteristics of the vehicles. Then we're gonna find out how they stack up compared to each other. Now, on paper, the C8 Corvette and the MC20 have lots of similarities, though the construction fundamentally to their cores are actually drastically different. That being, the MC20 supercar has a carbon fiber tub construction versus Chevrolet's aluminum space frame chassis. From there to the actual finished product, both cars weigh pretty similar to each other. Now, Maserati claims 3,300 pounds. From independent tests and estimates, they're saying this new MC20 weighs around 3,600 pounds with a full tank of gas. And for my time driving it, it does feel like a 3,600 pound vehicle. It's not heavy, but it's also not the lightest vehicle on the market. And when you consider the new C8 Corvette, from the factory, Chevrolet claims a 3,400 dry weight figure, and then curb weight with all the fluids, that being oil, fuel. The C8 also weighs around 3,600 pounds. The focus for both vehicles are pretty similar. A car that you can hop in, drive every day on the street, and it won't abuse you in the driver's seat. And there's plenty of practicality with the two storage compartments, one in the front and one behind the engine in the back. The new MC20 is a GT car. It's a grand touring vehicle. And I know many who would argue the C8 Stingray is the epitome of that from Chevrolet. Because the Z06 is more track focused, the ZR1 is like the hypercar Corvette. The standard Stingray is the most practical, the most luxury and refined version of the new C8. Plus, if we consider the prices that C8 Corvettes are selling at right now at Barrett-Jackson, when I was there, I saw a new C8R sell for $300,000. And I saw normal C8 Corvette convertibles and so forth sell for $135,000+. Normal C8s with the Stingray R graphics exterior package were selling for $170,000. When you consider the $212,000 Maserati MC20 to these buyers, that gap isn't that wide. Yes, if you can order this car from a dealership and pay MSRP, then you're saving a lot of money. The average C8 performance variant I've been seeing with Z51 and like 3LT is roughly a $90,000 car, $90,000 to $100,000. Basically half the price of a new MC20. But is it half a price less of a car? That's what we're gonna find out in today's video. Now, from my time with the MC20, I joined my friend Karl. You may know him from his online reviews, that being on Forbes or Edmunds.com. We actually went to Willow Springs, where Maserati was hosting a media event showcasing what this new car is all about. And I have to say, from the exterior standpoint, it is a beautiful vehicle. It's refined, it's got curvy lines to it, which make it look very clean and professional at the same time. It's got class, it's got a style that not many other mid-engine supercars on the market right now can compete with. The paint jobs that they had on display, like this new pearl metallic white, it's a very thoroughly built vehicle and it feels high quality. Having carbon ceramic brakes, tons of exterior carbon fiber, you can tell it's obviously in a different league than the C8 Corvette. In terms of build quality as is, the Z06 and the ZR1s will be much closer to the level of Italian craftsmanship that is of the Maserati. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Corvette, but just looking at both cars, you can see how one looks more expensive than the other. However, the C8 Corvette tackles its design in a completely different way. It's more Lamborghini-ish, with the harsh angles, the aggressive stance. It's making itself very clear that, hey, I'm mid-engine. It's a bold statement, and I think that the C8 Corvette might turn more heads in general than the MC20 going down the road, simply because of how La Ferrari-ish the body design is, with side intakes unlike any other mid-engine performance car on the market. However, the C8 Corvette has more of a bulky stance, creating like boxy design cues from the rear of the vehicle, maybe a little bit Camaro-ish. The design department from the MC20 is similar to that of McLaren, with soft, shrink-wrapped body lines, trying to show you how the vehicle is an athlete, slimmed down, and all the fat's been trimmed out. So the winner for the exterior, I don't know, it's a tie for me. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. The second you open up the butterfly doors of the MC20, it screams exotic supercar. With the doors open, you can see this forged carbon fiber design that's in a dry finish, not shiny. It's amazing to see. The craftsmanship, again, blows me away. Seeing your giant carbon fiber vertical door, you can see how the design is sitting on a carbon fiber tub, which means more chassis rigidity. Essentially, every single Ferrari being made right now, all the way up to the F8s, are non-carbon tub. The same with the Lamborghini Huracan. The technology is straight from Formula One. And the seats are extremely comfortable. Getting inside the MC20, these Club Sport Alcantara seats, I was in shock. They were like sitting in these seats, I was sitting extremely low, right above the carbon tubs. I felt like I've got great visibility in a low central mass for the vehicle. And I was very confidence inspired. Seeing the rectangular display and also the new LCD right in front of you, I loved it. The entire interior with all its carbon fiber cues, it's much more 4GT-ish than the C8 Corvette, because the new 4GT, when you get inside of it, there's no cup holders, there's nothing like that. It's focused on being a performance car. Right there is an interesting design decision. Now, from the best of my knowledge right now, I don't think you can get cup holders in the new MC20. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comment section down below. Regardless, there aren't any straightforward storage compartments or cup holders like that you have in the C8 Corvette. The C8 Corvette is much more like a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW in the sense of anyone can hop inside and there's places to store stuff. Also, you have a cup holder compartment that can close up and blend with the body of the vehicle or open up. I feel like there's much more technology in the C8 Corvette. However, they both do have electronic rear view mirrors, which are really cool. The one in the MC20 is much bigger. Which interior is more edgy and more like a race car? MC20. Which one fulfills the goal of the GT car that you want to get inside and drive across country and it's just insanely high quality and you can't find where they cut any corners? The C8 Corvette. Anyways, let's move on to the driving impressions I have for both vehicles. Here's where they become very similar, but also pretty different. Now, my experience in the C8 Corvette has been very extensive. I bought a 2020 model. I put 26,000 miles on it. I tracked it at so many racetracks, and my experience in the MC20 is very short compared to it. I've only driven it for about, in total, I think maybe 30 minutes. Being able to drive it during their press event was very exciting. And getting behind the wheel, yes, it wasn't as extensive as my experience in the C8 Corvette, so please keep that in mind in this review. At the same time, I did learn a lot from the vehicle. Driving the MC20, I was very shocked with how solid the vehicle felt. When I first got inside, instantly I realized how low I was sitting in the chassis. It felt like a proper track car. You're on full throttle pull. Wow, it's got a nice growl to it, but it's not very deep. It's a 6-cylinder for sure, and you can hear the turbos working their magic. It feels very much like the NSX in terms of the turbo sounds you get within the vehicle. What I loved about it was the steering. No, it's not hydraulic steering. One of the best electronic steering racks I have ever felt. Versus the C8 Corvette, this steering rack was very McLaren-ish. Actually, it felt very much like the new 4GT that I drove. And again, it's not electro-hydraulic like those other supercars are. I was very impressed, and they don't overweight it when you go into track mode. One characteristic of the C8 Corvette I don't really like too much is that going in track mode, the steering wheel goes from pretty light and smooth to almost heavy as a brick. And on track, if you've seen any of our track videos, like our latest one at Laguna Seca with the C8R, you can see how I was taking a break here and there just to move my wrists because the steering got that heavy. I want a steering rack that feels light, but also not too light, whereas I would upset the stability of the car in a high-speed straightaway or corner. Driving the MC20, I was very shocked with how the brake pedal is very similar to the McLaren's, where the first inch, nothing quite happens. It's like a very slight decrease in speed you get, very initial touch of the brake pedal, which is good for high-speed corners where you want to brush off just a little bit of speed. But if you put more pressure down, it becomes very linear. It'll grab like a race car would during the end of that press of the pedal. Brakes, hold on, Carl. You ready?
Ready.
Oh, shoot. Those are pretty good, right?
Yeah.
The C8, you can brush off speed. It will grab. It's tuned in such a way that you get pretty much like 80% of the response. At least that's what it feels like during that initial first punch of the pedal. I feel like it grabs on and it grabs hard very, very early. I'd say like twice as early than the Maserati. The DCTs in both cars are essentially the same 8-speed DCTs. Tremec. When I launched the new MC20, what was very funny to me is that it doesn't launch as hard as a C8 Corvette. Hitting launch on, so foot on brake, foot on gas. Revving up, building boost. So we spun a bit there, but I think for the best 0 to 60 times, might as well just leave it in automatic mode. It didn't give me the same whiplash effect as the C8 Corvette did. It doesn't get out of the hole as quickly. The 0 to 60s we're seeing with the C8 Corvette are roughly a 2.7 on average, sometimes 2.6, but average 2.7, whereas it's 2.8 for the MC20. The MC20 then beats it down the quarter mile at 10.5 versus about 11.2 because you have more horsepower, roughly 126 more horsepower, if I'm not mistaken. You notice it during the top end acceleration. It just keeps pulling.
Oh my god, yeah, definitely faster. Holy sh**.
In the end of the day, when I got out of the MC20, the first car I thought about was the C8 Corvette. In my brain, I was in shock because I realized on one end of the spectrum, you have this $212,000 starting price Italian exotic, and then on the other, you've got this American-made Corvette that starts at roughly $60,000, and for a Z51 and 2LT, for a good spec, you're looking at 80, 90 grand. It's unbelievable the amount of value you're getting out of the Corvette, whereas the interior doesn't feel any less high quality. The exterior doesn't look like they cut very many corners. It looks aggressive and mean, and it's got personality. It makes a statement, doesn't it? Just like the Maserati. I think in the same environment, the C8 and the Maserati could turn roughly the same amount of heads. Where I think the C8 did feel a bit better than the Maserati to me is the calibration for track mode, because getting into some of the corners in the MC20, I noticed some body roll, and it was definitely there. I felt that weight shift, whereas on the inside of a corner, the body will go up, the outside, the body will shrink down. It's transferring over with the springs. The suspension didn't stiffen up exactly how much as I'd like it to. I think that there might be a little bit less body roll in the C8 than the MC20, at least from that experience in both cars. Body roll. it's getting, the left is getting higher up, but the mid-engine power plant, did I say power plant? The mid-engine power plant, like, it's gonna put down the power, right? But I can feel body roll, don't you? Don't you feel that body roll right there?
Yeah.
Check out these few shots from Karl driving the new MC20 on Willow Springs Raceway, turn 2, holding roughly 80 or so miles an hour. Car feels and looks good, right? What's interesting is that in track mode, I could feel the bumps on the street much more like instantaneously than the C8. With the carbon fiber tub, the entire car felt so thorough and compact and just responsive. It absorbs the bumps very well, but I just feel like there's a bit too much body roll tuned in, at least from my experience, my brief experience driving the car. Interestingly, I would say both cars felt more similar than different to me when I was thinking about them. I believe on the racetrack, the MC20 would probably be around 2 seconds faster. The one question I found myself asking, is it really $100,000 more of a car? In terms of craftsmanship, yes. In terms of style, if that's what you're all about, this car will feel more special. In terms of performance, I don't know if it's truthfully night and day. So that's my summary. You can buy a luxury piece of equipment like a Rolex watch, or you can get a watch that is functionally the same, and you can turn as many heads with it while still cost half the price. Both cars are phenomenal buys, and I think that they command the price tag they're asking for. In terms of comparing them to each other, you're paying more for the more exclusive item, because imagine if they only made a couple thousand C8s a year. How much money would the C8 be, right? They're mass producing it, there's economies of scale, everything changes. That's why the C8 Corvette feels like such a good bang for the buck as is. It doesn't take anything special away from the MC20, it just shows you how good of a deal the C8 is and how, depending on your focus, it could be the better buy. If you want an Italian supercar that is handmade, has got a carbon tub, feels luxurious and just special and new, then the Maserati is a better buy. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. It really has helped me out. Also subscribe for much more great videos coming out your way. I'll see all of you in the next episode.